What is going on, your average investor? Today we're going to be talking a little bit about the real estate investment trust WHLR and its most recent news, which made it pop almost 99% during trading time. So before we begin, we always like to tell you guys, please subscribe, please tell friends, please tell family. Let's help get this channel monetized so we can continue to do some more free giveaways like we did in the past, help your stock portfolio, things like that. So, real estate investment trusts, pretty nifty. They are required to pay out 90% of what they have incoming as a dividend to investors to incentivize, but also because that is the tax structure behind them. So, when market opened today, the WHLR Real Estate Investment Trust, or REIT, surged about 117%. This jump followed basically a court dismissal of a class action lawsuit tied to WHLR's August 2022 acquisition of Cedar Realty Trust. So, what happened here is in 2022, WHLR acquired Cedar, and there was a class action against WHLR, which tied them up for quite some years. So the lawsuit was brought on by Cedar's preferred stockholders against WHLR and Cedar's former board of directors. So typically when you see these types of things, everybody gets locked up for quite a bit of time. Usually it takes several years. As we can see here, it took 2.5 years to get this done. So the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit, they finally upheld a decision and a ruling stating that the plaintiffs did not sufficiently allege any legal violation. So WHLR, based in Virginia Beach, they focus on rental properties, particularly grocery stores or anchored shopping centers. And they acquired Cedar to complement the portfolio. Pretty standard, pretty typical in the M&A industry. Cedar previously was based in New York, and they operated 18 properties with roughly 3 million of square feet of leasable space in the Northeast. So what happened here was WHLR's CEO, Franklin at the time, he expressed satisfaction with the ruling. Said that he was pretty happy to see what was going on. And despite the ruling, WHLR stock is still down 75% year to date. And if you take a quick look at where they stood relative to the S&P 500, they are down tremendously as far as total performance goes. 1 year return is still down 99% versus the S&P. If you were to just do a simple SPY ETF, you'd be up about 21%. And the 3-year return is just looking just as worse. Relative to other real estate investment trusts such as O Realty, SPG, Simon, or Alpine Income Property, not sure that there's too much value here. But some things I did want to note. So these guys, typically for us, when we see a REIT, we say, great, you're going to have consistent income. It pays similar to a dividend style stock. These guys have actually halted their dividend. And if you look at the dividend history of them, about 2019, they were faced with the inability to pay their near-term debt maturity, so they actually had to suspend preferred dividend. So REITs under law are required to pay out 90% of income as net earnings to shareholders as their dividend, unless they're in duress, financial instability, or they don't have the ability to pay this. So WHLR had paid a dividend prior. It was a nice typical REIT-style dividend, but that has since changed. So the biggest fear here is, are they ever going to get back to stability where they can start paying out the dividend again? Based off of what I have seen and based off of what we look at when we talk about pretty much everything that these companies do, we think that there's probably a better place to be putting money should you want to invest into a real estate investment trust. So there's a couple different options out there. I'm just taking a look at this huge surge that we're seeing today, where the price has dropped pretty tremendously over the last couple of months, leading from the summer when typically REITs do better. One other thing to note is that the beta on this one is, I think it's 1.53. Typically, REITs do have a higher beta. They trade a little bit more than general securities because they have a lot more risk. So they have interest rate sensitivity. REITs tend to be sensitive to changes in interest rates. When rates rise, REITs become less attractive because borrowing costs typically increase, and other yield-generating investments, bonds, they become more competitive. So sensitivity to rates can increase the beta, which we do see here. There's tremendous cyclicity in REITs because they're tied to the broader economic performance of specifically that country, global as well. Commercial real estate, retail properties, hospitality do change, and they are cyclical. So economic sensitivity can cause these style of instruments to be a little bit more sensitive. And the biggest concern is REITs typically use significant leverage. So they are doing consistent debt financing where they will buy a property and within 6 months to 1 year, they're already taking equity out to take the equity to then go purchase another property. And it is a good strategy if you're trying to expand quickly. A lot of real estate investments do this style of investing. However, urge of caution is if the underlying asset begins to have financial instability, or the current landlord is unable to get their renters or their tenants to pay, you're going to start running into problems that'll trickle through all the different properties, since you've been using the original investment to take equity out and then purchase future investments. So just some things to think about. Overall, don't think this one's going to be a good one for you guys to invest in. Again, this is not financial advice. We're just speculating based off of the fundamentals, what we see today. And although this pop is great, a 97%, 96% pop in one day, if you still look at the 1 year or year today, these guys are down 96%. And if they don't have a dividend, I just don't see any purpose of staying in this thing long term. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You can comment, subscribe, hit the notification button. We're going to keep releasing videos like this. Have a great day.